Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have the Booktube Snooker Tag. I was tagged by Dane of Dane Reads and this tag was created by Alan Morton. In Dane's video, he said that I seem to be a person who may enjoy snooker. And whilst it is a game that I do not understand in the slightest, I enjoy the silence of it, and so I find it quite soothing. And over the years, since my dad has always watched it, I've grown to really appreciate snooker, and I find that it's a great sport to read by because it's just incredibly relaxing. I don't know why. Sometimes it can be tense, and as I've aged, I felt that I've become more involved in the watching of it, so sometimes I can become a bit distracted, but I enjoy the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of questions are going to come up, because quite frankly I've forgotten in all the time it's been since I first saw this tag. So apparently the prompts are based on the colours of the different snooker balls. So the first one is red. Name a book that made you see red. I don't own this book anymore. I'm not sure whether the video is still available, but that book is Paulina and Fran by Rachel B. Glaser. Never before has a book angered me to the point that this book did. I remember my reaction being one of complete frustration and hate. The sad part is that I tweeted out my review. I didn't tag the author. Don't tag authors in unfavourable reviews. It's just not nice. And frankly, I don't tag authors at all. I don't know whether the author had searched her name on Twitter and seen it, but I saw that she liked the post. And I've always felt a bit guilty of that because I actually despise that book with a passion. Next we have yellow. Name a book with a summer theme or that you want to read in summer. For this, I've gone with The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna. This is set in the heatwave of 1976 and Mrs. Creasy has gone missing from the avenue. It goes back and forth between 1976 and 1966 and discusses some of the darker aspects of the people who live on this avenue. Next we have green. Name a book that represents spring. Spring by Ali Smith. Now yes, I did put this in somewhat cheekily, but I think when I think of spring, I think of energizing and I think of new beginnings, and I find something frenetic within Ali Smith's prose that I think most of her works could actually work quite well as spring books. Next we have brown. Name a book that has a sombre or serious tone. Here Comes the Sun by Nicole Dennis-Benn. I read this a few years ago. It has always stuck with me due to some of the dark topics it talks about, because this cover will lull you into a false sense of security. It follows the character of Margot, who is working at a hotel and she is trying to support her younger sister by selling her body. And she does this in the hopes that her sister wouldn't have to do anything similar. Little does she know that her sister is also hiding a secret in that her sister is using her money to pay to have her skin bleached, because the adverts in Jamaica in the 1990s are all promoting the lighter skin and this whiter lifestyle. It's an incredibly dark, engaging book about a part of the world I knew nothing about before, and apart from me learning that these things went on in the world, having not previously known that, I also think that it's a great narrative. I'm rather fond of the way that Nicole Dennis-Benn writes, and I think that she managed to craft these characters quite well, so it never felt as though it was some sort of public service announcement. It felt simply like this was their story and we were just being invited along to hear about the characters and their lives. Next we have Blue. Name a book that's sad or melancholy. Annabel by Kathleen Winter. Whenever I think of a sad book, I always think about this one. In 1968, a boy is born neither fully a boy nor fully a girl. However, their parents choose to give them an operation so as they will be a boy, and they do this because they believe that it will give them an easier life and because their father wanted a boy. However, this child grows up believing that there is a more feminine part to themselves, and their father is very aware of feminine roles in society, keeps the child away from doing any activities that he himself might deem too feminine. And I remember reading this, the setting and the story have always had this sort of melancholic tone in my memory, and whenever I think of some sort of book that represents melancholy, I always think of Annabel. Next we have Pink. Name a book that makes you feel happy, cheerful or uplifted. For this I chose Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. I feel as though I don't really need to explain this much more. I've read it a few times and it never fails to make me smile. I think that Jenny Lawson's talking about incredibly difficult topics, but she does it through such a comedic tone that all of that is alleviated and you just leave the book feeling happy, and there's no other way about it. Next we have Black. Name a book that has a dark or depressing theme. For this I chose The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. After an explosion kills his mother, Theo Decker is left to his own devices, really. This book explores his grief following the death of his mother as he tries to navigate a world that she is no longer part of, but he has this long-lasting memory of her through this painting of the Goldfinch. This book follows Theo throughout his adolescence and his early adulthood, and I remember one of the things I always tell people about this book is that I think it's a brilliant portrayal of grief. I was speaking in the comments to Rachel's Reading Corner yesterday regarding The Goldfinch, because she said she wasn't hooked by this book, and I don't think this book has a hook, but that's to its benefit. I think that this book is told in such a steady tone because it's following Theo as he begins to navigate grief, and that leaves you feeling somewhat rudderless, and I think that that's a good reason not to have a hook, or that is the hook. Either way, very sad book. Next, I think I'm supposed to tag some people, so I am going to tag Charlie Brooke, Abby of Abby Mac Reads, Will of Bald Book Geek. I'll say Rachel's Reading Corner as well, and let's go with Emily of Novel Novels, since we've already tagged Charlie. So there's our 5. If you've read any of these books and would like to discuss them, please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.